Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Political Vigilante. Oh, snap. Well, gee. Remember when I did a video a couple months ago about Joe Biden pulling troops out of Afghanistan, and I said it's a matter of time before he puts them back in? U.S. deploying 3,000 troops to help evacuate Kabul embassy staff as Taliban advance. So all we've seen this last month or so is all these videos of the Taliban's on the run, the Taliban, see? And if Trump would have pulled the troops out, MSNBC and CNN would be like chastising him. He's destabilized the region. So Biden pulled out. So, Fox News it's always one of the arms of the military industrial complex, the Fox arm or the MSNBC arm, because they spend money on both of those channels, and CNN, all of them equally. We got to have never-ending war. The troops, which will consist of 3 infantry battalions from the Marines and Army, will be deployed to Hamid Karzai International Airport within 24 to 48 hours.
Temporary and tailored. Those are two of the words that we've been hearing. The Department of Defense is adamant about making sure that the American people see this as they are sending these troops in to help with the evacuation of U.S. civilians, primarily the people who are working at the embassy there, and to help with any of these Afghans who are eligible for the special immigrant visa program to help them get safely to the airport and potentially out of the country. So what we're looking at right now is an initial deployment of about 3,000.
Initial deployment. That's keywords. You're going to hear all this blah, blah, blah. It's just a short term, just to get the evacuation. Then we're going to leave. Initial deployment sounds a lot like there's going to be subsequent deployments now, doesn't it? Man, I love all this pulling Joe Biden to the left. It's really working. It's really like he's being so left pulled. It's amazing.
Troops. It's a combination of soldiers and Marines, mainly infantry, and they will go to the airport in Kabul, where they will help with the security, both security at the airport and, again, securing these individuals getting to the airport to get safely out. But that's not the only deployment here. We will also see between 3,500 and 4,000 members of the 82nd Airborne Brigade Combat Team based out of Fort Bragg. They're moving forward to Kuwait. And that is in case the situation in Kabul gets really bad.
I'm sorry. Did she just say 34,000 troops are in Kuwait? They're going to Kuwait? Oh, I've been to Kuwait. We've got bases in Kuwait. We've had them there since the 90s. Oh. Just in case. Listen to this whole just in case if this situation gets out of control.
And they need to send in what the military calls either an immediate reaction force or a quick reaction force. Some soldiers who can go in and quickly help secure the situation. In addition to that, there's going to be another 1,000 who will be sent forward to Qatar, and they'll be helping with the special immigrant visa program. So we're talking about thousands of troops here, Tyler, who are being resent in to the region for Afghanistan.
Quick question. Do we know how many Americans are currently in Kabul or in Afghanistan?
We don't.
Yeah, because who cares about locals as long as American lives are saved? We've been in a country for 20 years. We've bombed it. We've blown it up. And the argument, yeah, but it's destabilized. We got to do something. Yeah, we could have done it years ago. We could have actually just gone in there and rebuilt infrastructure and helped them and build schools and all that other stuff. We could have built soccer stadiums and gotten the whole country involved in soccer. I know this sounds crazy, but when I was over there, that's what I thought would unify this country, because soccer is the most popular sport in the world. I was in Iraq in 2011, I think, during the Asia Cup. And the Iraq soccer team, for the first time, they hadn't had a soccer team in years, was like they advanced. They were doing all right. And the whole country was on board. Shiites, Sunnis, and Kurds were all united behind the soccer team. Right? They could have done that in Afghanistan. There's this great documentary called Afghan Star, where it's basically American Idol. It's a singing competition, but it was in Afghanistan. And the whole country got involved in it. Afghanistan's very tribal. It's very fractionalized. Oh, God. Anyway, more stuff, warmongering nonsense.
We can tell you that the embassy has about 4,000 total personnel. About 1,400 or so are Americans, but we don't have a good sense of exactly how many of them will be brought out in this initial tranche of people before the end of this month. We're told, according to defense officials and people at the State Department, it's going to be a significant number, but we don't know exactly how big that is. It will be a small core number left behind. The question is, will this mission be extended or expanded out so that other Americans who are there in Afghanistan, primarily in Kabul, if there is an order departure and they have to leave and they need help getting out, will the military be brought in to help with that? We're told that they have the assets available for that, the U.S. military, and that they are fully preparing to have to be used, have U.S. military aircraft used to actually take people out. It's just a matter of how many and when.
This sounds familiar. Does this sound familiar to you? Really? Does it? Because it does to me. This is from December of 2009. Obama hadn't even been in office a full year.
This review is now complete. And as Commander-in-Chief, I have determined that it is in our vital national interest to send an additional 30,000 U.S. troops to Afghanistan. After 18 months, our troops will begin to come home.
You remember, so that's December of 19. So we're talking about summer of 2011. Remember summer 2011? We got all the troops out of Afghanistan. In the last 10 years, we've just been the world economy. Like all these nations have just been putting, businesses have come to Afghanistan, and Afghanistan's like a member now, like they're a member of the international community, and tourists travel there, and they've got, pretty good schools, and it's back to being this country, back when people would say Kabul was the Paris of the Middle East, and right. You know what I mean? Like girls are going to school, and they're becoming more progressive for, a conservative Muslim country. So that's what we've been doing the last 10 years, right? Because Obama kept his word, right? It's not like he said this, he pulled some out, puts them back in, pulls them back out. Then he just kept the war in Afghanistan. And then the next guy after him kept the war going in Afghanistan. Then the next guy came in and said, oh, I'm going to pull us out, and then just put 3,000 troops. It's not like we've been doing that for the last 10 years. It's not like that's happened. It's not like we've been in Afghanistan for 20 years. And now we just took troops out and we're putting them back. It's not like that. It's not like we've heard this. It's not like this has been going on nonstop, right? Right? Am I crazy?
These are the resources that we need to seize the initiative while building the Afghan capacity that can allow for a responsible transition of our forces out of Afghanistan.
So we couldn't figure this out in 12 years. So I don't, this like, we got to go back after this Taliban's gaining steam. What were you guys doing? You were just bombing and special operate. You weren't building a country back, just like America. It's 10 times worse than Afghanistan, obviously, but like, what if we went to Afghanistan and did like, the Marshall Plan, which is what we did post World War II. We rebuilt America and the Allies, especially America, because we emerged as a superpower after World War II and our economy really started to take off. We went in with the Marshall Plan and rebuilt Europe because it was bombed. We rebuilt Japan because it was bombed by us, of course. Nope, 20 years. Imagine if we were just announcing in 1961, we're finally pulling ground troops who are still fighting the Japanese Imperial Army in 1961. We're pulling some out, but now the Japanese Imperial Army's regained. We got to go back to Okinawa. Like, can you imagine in 1961, 20 years after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, we're still fighting the Japanese? And Japan would be a decimated, not modern Marvel techno. I mean, by 1961, Japan was like reemerging. We had helped rebuild that country. I mean, we bombed it when we didn't need to. We talked government secrets. Lee Camp covered that, how Japan was ready to surrender and Truman dropped the A-bomb on them anyway, just to show the Russians whole nother thing. But I'm just pointing this parallel here because by 1964, there was the Tokyo Olympics. We just had the Tokyo Olympics again, but by 1964, and it was like, Japan's been rebuilt. It's a democratic society. They have a constitution. They got rid of their military, like, except real basics. Like, they were ready to like come back into the world and say, hey, we don't want to be an evil empire. How come that couldn't happen in Afghanistan? We've spent like 100 times more money, trillions of dollars. It's 20 years since the bombing of 9/11. It's the 20-year, we're coming up on the 20-year anniversary in like a month. We should be like, oh, Afghanistan is like, oh, we've helped them. Women are having more rights now. The Taliban isn't even a thing. We're just like, we're no. It's 2009.
I do not make this decision lightly.
Yeah, you do.
I opposed the war in Iraq precisely because I believe that we must exercise restraint in the use of military force and always consider the long-term consequences of our actions. We have been at war now for 8 years, at enormous cost in lives and resources. Years of debate over Iraq and terrorism have left our unity on national security issues in tatters and created a highly polarized and partisan backdrop for this effort. And having just experienced the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the American people are...
Sound familiar? We're in an economic crisis right now, and it's only going to get worse. The real one hasn't happened because we keep kicking the can down the road with the eviction moratoriums, and because we're not giving people money to pay their back rent, which then would make the landlords whole, we're going to have a bunch of evictions and a bunch of foreclosures. And all of those properties are going to get snatched up by the big companies, the banks and the big development and the big management companies. That's what happened. So this is him still in the middle of his giving the banks $1 trillion and not holding them accountable. Does it sound familiar?
understandably focused on rebuilding our economy and putting people to work here at home. I make this decision because I am convinced that our security is at stake in Afghanistan and Pakistan. This is the epicenter of violent extremism practiced by Al-Qaeda.
That we helped create.
It is from here that we were attacked on 9/11, and it is from here that new attacks are being plotted as I speak. This is no idle danger, no hypothetical threat. In the last few months alone, we have apprehended extremists within our borders who were sent here from the border region of Afghanistan and Pakistan to commit new acts of terror. And this danger will only grow if the region slides backwards and Al-Qaeda can operate with impunity. We must keep the pressure on Al-Qaeda, and to do that, we must increase the stability and capacity of our partners in the region. Of course, this burden is not ours alone to bear. This is not just America's war. Since 9/11, Al-Qaeda's safe havens have been the source of attacks against London and Amman and Bali. The people and governments of both Afghanistan and Pakistan are in danger. The stakes are even higher than the nuclear-armed Pakistan because we know that Al-Qaeda and other extremists seek nuclear weapons, and we have every reason to believe that they would use them. These facts compel us to act along with our friends and allies. Our overarching goal remains the same: to disrupt, dismantle, and defeat Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and to prevent its capacity to threaten America and our allies in the future. To meet that goal, we will pursue the following objectives within Afghanistan. We must deny Al-Qaeda a safe haven. We must reverse the Taliban's momentum and deny it the ability to overthrow the government. And we must strengthen the capacity of Afghanistan's security forces and government so that they can take lead responsibility for Afghanistan's future.
December 2009. 8 years of Bush, 8 years of Obama, 4 years of Trump, and now we're in Biden's first year. Same nonsense. But you know what? When somebody gives you a new fancy toy or a bunch of money, you might as well spend it, right? $25 billion that the democratically controlled Senate just gave Joe Biden to take his already bloated $743 billion war budget now up to $768. We outspend the next 10 to 15 countries combined. I've lost track of all of the countries that we outspend combined. So we got to go back in there. And I put this tweet up right when I heard this. Over under on how long 3,000 troops to Afghanistan becomes 30,000. I mean, I just told you that woman said in the report, oh, there's 30,000, some 34,000 troops are stationed in Kuwait. Just wait. They'll be over. I predict this in the next 2 months, before the end of the year. What do you want to put the over under? Thanksgiving, Halloween, October 1st, September 1st? I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Where? It's going over 30,000. That's happening. The only issue is when. Boy, Joe Biden, man. He's pulling him to the left. It's been really great. It's like a NASCAR race, just all left turns. That's what Joe Biden is like. Right? It's great. When I first went to Afghanistan to do comedy in 2004, if you would have said, we're still going to be there in 2021, I'd have been like, you're insane. That's an awful light. That's an awful. Not just have some bases there, like we have bases in Germany and we have bases in Japan, but still fighting. Imagine if this trillions of dollars just helped the Afghan people economically to where they wouldn't need the Taliban. There wouldn't be a need for extremism because it's a poor country. And Al Qaeda and whatever the Taliban says, we'll give you this amount of money. It's a tribal. Does that sound familiar? Domestically, doesn't that sound familiar? Wow. Instead of spending all this money on police departments having military grade equipment and tanks and robot dogs and the private prison industry, what if we gave people jobs and education here in America and a livable wage and I don't know, health care? Maybe there wouldn't be as much crime. But you can't do that when you need pipelines and heroin, which grows in Afghanistan. And you want to keep troops there to scare Iran. Follow the money, connect the dots. That's where you find the truth. And that is why you are watching The Political Vigilante. Shave your knuckles for justice. Boom. Hey, everybody, it's Graham Elwood. We are going on the road, Ron Placone and I, in September and October. Check grahamelwood.com for tour dates, probably coming to a city near you. A lot of these shows have sold out in the past. We haven't been on the road in a year and a half because of the pandemic. Come out and join us. The post-pandemic comedy tour. Go to grahamelwood.com for tickets. New cities being announced every day. Join us and support what we do at patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. Blockchain cryptocurrency platform. Thank you. You're making Gotham great again.